Well, good morning, everyone, and all of our faithful followers on YouTube. Appreciate everyone being with us today. And this is the morning committee of Infrastructure and Development Services, Public Health Services, and Cultural Services. So I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll ask any members of the committee to declare pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. The first thing that we have on our agenda is Infrastructure Development Services Division. There's 3 pieces of correspondence. And how do you want to handle that, committee? Thank you, Councillor Weber. Seconded by Councillor Stark. Any questions? Councillor Stark, go ahead, sir.
Yes, with respect to the submission by Halton Hills, Build It Right the First Time. This is directed to Jason. And that the question is, what impact would the changes to the building code in terms of making things energy efficient across the board, how expensive a difference would this be to impose these new restrictions as indicated by Halton Hills in terms of building code changes? What are we talking about as far as our contractors within Lambton County? What would they have to be looking at?
Mr. Cole?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councillor Stark, for that question. I think maybe I can call on Corinne Nada, our CBO, to speak to that at this time.
Good morning, everyone. There is no dollar amount that I'm aware of that the increased costs are going to be. But I can tell you that the Ontario Building Code is moving towards a net zero initiative over the next 5 to 10 years. Some of the problems with the building code become when the house is constructed, if there's any deficiencies and they're ready to occupy, how do those deficiencies get fixed, such as air leakage when walls are already drywalled and insulated. So there's lots of work to be done yet. We're getting there, but I don't know the costs.
A follow-up would be with respect to the changes. I'll give you the example I'm using is the city of Sarnia has declared itself a member of those who are concerned about this issue. Other than being words, how do we put into practice this concern about whether or not we're moving towards net zero construction? My concern is that words are fine, but actions count a lot more than words. So how do we move towards this goal?
Mr. Cole?
I think, again, Corinne is probably in the best position policy-wise to answer this question.
Unfortunately, the Ontario Building Code hasn't given us the end goal, except that we are moving towards net zero. And as the code every 4 years is updated, we do get that information. Currently now we're building at a higher efficiency standard than we were 10 years ago. And we do see those increases every 4 years to the code. And it gives builders time. It's not like we would get a new amendment in October, November to be implemented in January. We usually do have a 6-month grace period for builders to be able to adapt to the increased costs, if any. And I would not know where the payback is with the energy efficiency as it relates to, gas or propane or hydro bills to pay back for those increased building materials. There just are no numbers yet.
Finally, if I could get some indication as to whether administration is developing a policy for contributions or input to the provincial government as it relates to this topic.
Mr. Cole, I'll default to you, and then if you want to move it on, carry on.
Absolutely, Corinne. Are you able to speak to that again?
So I do participate in many of the chief building official initiatives when we are commenting on code, and I do have a very active relationship with our Sarnia Lambton Home Builders Association, and I do work with them on providing code consultation. So I would suggest that if local municipalities want to move forward, it is a local municipal initiative if they wish to move forward with such incentives for builders to build a net zero home. It's not a county function, it's a local municipal function. So if it's something they want to do, I do know, for example, Middlesex Center does do green builder awards and provides some monetary incentive to build in such a manner. But that would be up to the local municipalities, not the county.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions on any of these items of correspondence or comments? Seeing none, just a comment. It's pretty exciting to see that we have a study commencement on the widening of Highway 40 finally. It's been talked about a couple of times, and I know they started and stopped more than once in the last almost 50 years. So it's kind of nice to see it getting a little traction again. So all in favor of receiving and filing those items? That's carried. Thank you very much. There's also 4 information reports committee. Do I have a mover and seconder to receive those reports? Councillor Napper and Deputy Warden Hand. Any questions on any of those reports? All well done and lots of stuff going on. So seeing none, all those in favor of receiving those? That be carried. Is there any other business for the infrastructure gang here today, committee? Mr. Cole, did you have anything more for us? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Just share your excitement over the Highway 40 study.
Thank you very much. Hey, you never know. Maybe in my lifetime it'll be completed. All right. The next on our agenda, folks, is the Public Health Services Division, and there's 2 items of correspondence. How do you want to deal with those, committee? Go ahead, Councillor Weaver.
I'll move, receive, and file.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Broad. Any questions in regards to either one of those? Seeing none, all those in favor? That be carried. The next we have some information reports. I believe there's 4 of those. And do I have a message or a motion to receive those? Councillor Stark. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Loosley. Any questions or comments in regards to those? I think there was, Councillor Stark, you go first.
I was very concerned and informed on the opioid crisis. And it clearly became evident that this has gone way beyond a policing issue, and now it has become the social responsibility of all of us to address. I wondered if we as a county, specifically the Lambton Health Unit, has developed a policy going forward. How do we move this effort into mainstream Lambton County so that we can address this? I was very concerned about how prevalent this issue is in Lambton County versus other counties in the province. Very alarming as to the degree of opioid usage, deaths, and numbers of emergency room visits. Very concerned, and I wondered how we're addressing this issue in Lambton County specifically. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, could you respond to that, please?
Yes, through you, Councillor Arnold. Thank you for the question. You're absolutely right. The opioid crisis is live in Lambton County, and you see the number of deaths that have been reported since 2020 in the report. What we're doing about this at this time is County Council has endorsed us to move forward with the drug strategy. As you're aware, it's a drug and alcohol strategy that has engaged many community partners, stakeholders as we proceeded. Much of this work began with some funding that the province provided, as you will recall, and that allowed us to move into some local work here that's been very evidence-informed. And what I can tell you is we have With respect to where we are in the status of that drug strategy, this work started, it was delayed by COVID, and we're on track to finalizing and bringing back a draft report for council's approval in September. So that's where we are. And I have with me today is our manager who's leading this strategy, and maybe he could just give you a couple of high-level pieces as to where we are, if that's okay.
Yes.
For Mike Gorgie to speak to a couple of the active initiatives that are in place right now.
Hello, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Stark. Thank you again for the question. Yes, so as Andrew has spoken to, the county alcohol and drug strategy is almost there. You know, we're just getting it through production, and so we should have that available for review in the fall. As for current actions, there are a number of activities happening through ourselves and local partners. As you know, Ryan's House has received dedicated funding for treatment services. As well, through the Lambton Public Health Unit, we do maintain our surveillance system. So if there is an increase in a sudden increase in deaths locally due to highly toxic substances, we're able to alert the community and community partners and people who use drugs to let them know of the risk. As well, you know, the expanded outreach services has been in operation with our needle exchange and harm reduction programs, and so we were able to kind of get out there into the community with other partners to work with people in the community on this issue. But you know, as you know, it's a multifaceted challenge, and as you can see in some of the correspondence and in other reports, there still needs to be significant investments in interventions such as additional harm reduction, supportive housing, and community supports. It's a wide-ranging problem, but we are to the task.
Follow up, Councillor Stark, or are you okay?
Yes, I guess what I'm looking for is who, as an agency, would take the lead on this particular issue. It seems that everybody recognizes that this is a problem. But I keep hearing, yes, we need to do this, yes, we need to do this, yes. Who is leading the initiative on trying to quarterback this whole issue or this whole, hopefully, resolution of the issue? I know it's a complex problem, but somebody needs to take the lead. Is it the Lambton Health Unit? Thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, so Councillor Stark, I think your question is very valid. Maybe I can put it in some context this way. So we went down a road through instructions through the Solicitor General for communities to have a community safety well-being plan. And that was a focus on safety of communities. And what was clear is that the police could not do that alone. And I think when you raised the question about the drug strategy and the opioids crisis, who takes the lead? Well, I think that, you know, through some dedicated one-time funding, Lambton Public Health has taken the lead and received instructions from council to create a platform to do that work under. But again, I don't think we can do that alone. This strategy relies on too many partners to be involved. Housing, poverty initiatives. Many people have done poorly through this crisis through isolation, depression, anxiety. I think they're all factors that we have to consider in this. So I would say to you that our staff have taken an active role in facilitating this discussion, involving the stakeholders. And when we come with the final report for approval in February, there will be recommendations there for it to proceed. But currently we're doing active surveillance. You know, as part of the county emergency medical services reports on the number of people that are being picked up and taken to the emergency department. So lots of work is in place. The metrics are all there. Again, they'll come forward for council's approval, but I don't think the health unit can do this work alone. We are relying on the community being involved and engaged for it to be successful.
Councillor Stark.
Finally, I accept all of that. What I am saying is, if you look at this almost like a funnel, there needs to be somebody that coordinates the overall effort. So if it's the Lambton Health Unit, all the better. What I am saying is somebody needs to take responsibility and be at the head of this so that when we finally get some solutions, at least they're coming through one source. That's more a statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Just my own personal comment. I know Councillor Bradley for years has spoke about different addiction issues that we have in our community and the opioid crisis that we're talking about here today. But one of the missing pieces, I think, is just general hope in society. It seems like that's where a lot of people fall off the rails as they've given up. And I think we need to instill more of that. And one of the great projects that was done through this chamber was the Circles program. And I can't help but think that how many more folks may be off the rails because if without that, and with that program that's in place, they have mentors that work with them. And a lot of that is just providing hope. If you talk to the folks that graduate, that they finally felt that they did have an opportunity to move forward. And I think that's where, as we move forward with this initiative and the report that comes out, I hope that there's more, my own hope is that there's more information in regards to how to instill hope in people that there is a future that's worth living for and that this isn't the right direction for them. So I'll go to Councillor Broad first and then Councillor Bradley.
Thanks, Chair Arnold. And this is the exact reason why I want to keep Lambton Public Health Lambton. We got these initiatives going on there. If we become a group of 9, 10 other public health units all joined together, do you think that this will happen? Absolutely not. And that's why I will continue to push to have the Lambton Public Health remain Lambton Public Health so that we can handle these initiatives on our own and not have to worry about 9 or 10 other groups with us because we know where the money will go. It won't be to Sarnia Lambton. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bradley, go ahead, sir. You're muted, sir.
Thanks, Mayor Arnold, for your comments, because I think hope is part of this. But I really want to just, in very general terms, say, we've been dealing with this now for years. We asked the province, I believe in the last term, to declare a provincial-wide emergency on this issue, just like Alberta, just like BC, and put all the resources possible. And I'll give the public health unit a great deal of credit. Mr. Gorgay and I were meeting with a side group for a number of years ago, trying to develop strategies and working to develop this policy got in place. And let's look at the other part of this. It was the effort of that group and the business community and the labor community and the First Nations community that got us 24 more additional beds after many, many years of lobbying. And that's going to be in place in the next year and a half. So I think a lot has been accomplished, and it's very difficult because we're not alone. I read the other day, Sudbury's had more deaths from opiates than they've had from COVID.
Yeah.
And we're not alone on this. But as you alluded to and all that, there's so many other issues. It's the housing issue. It's the, all the other things that come with it. But I think Lambton County has, as best we can with a very difficult addiction, has done really a great deal of excellent work over the last 5-7 years to focus the community, to have the resources that we can get out of the province to do the things we need to do. So I think that needs to be said too, not, because we know what we've done over the last number of years, and it's not perfect and it never will be, but it has accomplished a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to Emergency Medical Services Department. There's one information report in regards to ambulance response times. Could I have a motion to receive that as information? Moved by Councillor Loosely, second by Councillor Stark. Any questions or comments in regards to that report? So the times look pretty good, but they should look a lot better in another year because we have some more folks coming on board. Go ahead, Councillor Loosely.
Thank you, Mayor Arnold. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the members present here, because sometimes I think it gets confused, but as stated in the report, we do set our own times. So we actually set our response times. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Any other business for the public health? Mr. Taylor? did you
No
have
other
anything
business.
more?
Thank you, Councilor
Okay,
Arnold.
thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to the Cultural Services Division. There's 3 information reports. Committee, how do you want to deal with those? Councillor Bradley.
Receive and file. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Second by Councillor Napper. Any questions in regards to any of those reports? Go ahead, Councillor Weber.
Thank you. Just a comment on the opening of the Forest Ranch Library. The facility looks great. Staff did a great job of putting that together and making it user-friendly and for the future. So congratulations, thanks to staff for doing that.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? All in favor? That be carried. There's 2 reports requiring a motion. Number A is in regards to library donations. Could I have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Warden Hand, moved, seconded by Councillor Weber. Any questions? Councillor Stark, go ahead, sir.
Just with respect to the donations that are rejected, I am assuming that a thank you acknowledgement regarding those donations still go out. And I just wanted to be assured of that.
Mr. Meyer.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Great question. And there is a process whereby if for some reason the item does not fit our collection because there's a duplicate or other circumstance, we do try to offer it to other institutions. If there's another museum where it would more appropriately fit, given its provenance or relationship to another community, but we do definitely extend our appreciation to all who come forward with offers of donation. So.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? All in favor? That be carried. Next, we have this report dated May the 18th, and there's also a motion in regards to that for the collections management in March 2022. Councillor Weber. Move that. Do I have a seconder? Warden Marriott. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That be carried. Is there any other business, Mr. Meyer, to bring forward? Go ahead, sir.
Just one item, if I may, Mr. Chair, just to build on the comments from Councillor Weber. I wanted to offer and extend our appreciation to the staff of the Municipality of Lambton Shores, as well as the staff of the town of Petrolia. As you saw in the activity report, it was a busy month or quarter for library renovations. And we had, it was a great partnership working with those 2 communities to improve those facilities. So greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments or other business to be brought up at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much. And no in-camera items, and there's only one other item left to do. Councillor Stark.
I move for adjournment.
All right. Second by Deputy Warden Hand. All in favor? Carried.